My life has become one of those insane Reddit stories. Am I the a-hole for refusing a DNA test after my wife's family accused me of faking my identity? You think that's the problem? It's not. The problem is they just showed me the missing person report, for the real me. They think I replaced him. Is this even real? Is this happening? Comment right now, what would you do if your family, your wife, looked you in the eye and asked who you really are? They sat me down. My wife, Sarah, just stared at the table. Her father, he's intense. He's always been intense. He slid a folder across the table. Not a suggestion. A file. A thick one. It wasn't an accusation, it was an interrogation. He said, "We know you're not him." I laughed. I actually laughed. I said, "What are you talking about? I'm me." And that's when he opened it. It was a private investigator's report. They've been watching me. For months. They have pictures of me getting coffee, going to the gym, taking out the trash. And then, the old photos. Photos of a man who looks almost exactly like me. His name was Daniel. Daniel Miller. And he vanished 15 years ago, right after college. The same college I went to, just a few years later. They think I'm an imposter. They think I somehow, stepped into this guy's life, or something. I don't even know what the accusation is. I looked at Sarah. My wife. The woman I have loved for 10 years. I said, "Sarah, tell them this is crazy." She wouldn't meet my eyes. She just whispered, "They need proof, honey. Just do the test. It will make this all go away." Make it go away? That's when I knew. That's when the paranoia set in. Why a DNA test? Why not just check my driver's license? My passport? My social security number? I offered all of it. I threw my wallet on the table. Her father just shook his head. He said, "Those things can be faked. Your blood can't be." They're not just asking me to prove who I am. They are accusing me of being a ghost, a fraud. They're telling me my life, my memories, my face, isn't mine. And my wife is agreeing with them. She's sitting there, letting them do this. So I said no. I stood up, and I said absolutely not. You don't get to ambush me, accuse me of being some kind of phantom, and then demand my genetics as proof of concept. I told them this was harassment. I told them to get out of my house. Her father, he just smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. He said, "If you won't do it, we have other ways. The test isn't just for us. It's for the authorities." What authorities? What are they talking about? I'm getting scared. This isn't a joke. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is a setup. This is a trap. I'm looking at my wife, and I don't recognize the woman sitting at my table. She's looking at me like I'm a stranger she just met. Maybe I am. They left. But Sarah didn't leave with them. She's in the other room, crying. Or maybe she's packing. I don't know. I'm locked in the office. I'm refusing the test because this is insane. But what if the real reason they want my DNA is to see if I'm a match for the other missing person in their family? And why did Sarah just admit she only met me because I looked exactly like the man who vanished? I sat there, in the quiet, the sound of Sarah's muffled sobs coming from the bedroom. The silence was louder than the shouting. My whole life, my 10-year marriage, felt like it was balancing on a single thread. I had to know. I unlocked the office door. The click of the lock sounded like a gunshot in the tense air. I walked into the living room. Sarah was on the couch, not with a suitcase, but with her phone in her hand, staring at it. She looked up, and she looked terrified. Not of me, but of the situation. "Sarah," I said, my voice hoarse. "You have to tell me. What is this? Who is the other person?" She flinched. She stood up and started pacing. It's not simple," she whispered. "This isn't just about Daniel Miller. Daniel, he was my father's best friend's son. He was around all the time. He vanished. Everyone was heartbroken." I waited. "And the other person?" She stopped pacing and finally looked at me, her eyes filled with a story I had never heard. "It was my aunt," she said. "My mom's younger sister, Chloe. She vanished a year before Daniel. The family, my father, he thinks they're connected." This was getting deeper. A missing friend and a missing aunt. So they think I'm Daniel, and that I know something about Chloe? "No," Sarah said, and her voice cracked. They think you might be Chloe's." I just stared at her. "What?" "Chloe, she had a secret," Sarah said, the words tumbling out. "She had a child, a baby boy, and gave him up for adoption right before she disappeared. My father, he's been looking for her, for the baby, for 20 years. And then, he found you." I felt the floor drop out from under me. He found me. He hired people. Years ago. To find Chloe's son. And they found you. You matched the age. You matched the general location. My mind was racing. This was insane. I grabbed my keys. "Where are you going?" Sarah yelled. "I'm going to my parents," I said. "I'm going to end this." I'll get my birth certificate, I'll get them on the phone. I drove, my hands shaking. This was a nightmare. I pulled up to my childhood home. It was dark. And there was a "for sale" sign staked in the lawn. I ran to the door. It was locked. I banged on it. Nothing. I pulled out my phone to call them. The number you have dialed has been disconnected. It was impossible. My father-in-law. The PI. This wasn't an investigation. It was a systematic erasure. I drove to the police station. I had to report this. Harassment. Something. I walked in, frantic. I went to the front desk. I need to report my father-in-law, I said. He's harassing me, he's accusing me of. The officer at the desk looked up, bored. Name? I told him my name. He typed. His expression changed. He looked at me, then at his screen. Sir, I need you to put your hands on the desk. What? Why? He stood up. We have an active warrant. For you. Daniel Miller. I was in an interrogation room. It was cold. The reality of it was sinking in. This wasn't a family drama. This was a setup. The door opened, and it wasn't a detective. It was him. My father-in-law, Mr. Thorne. He sat down across from me, his expensive suit not even wrinkled. He looked calm. This can all go away, he said, his voice smooth. Or this can get very, very ugly. That warrant is for material witness tampering in a 15-year-old cold case. Daniel Miller's. My heart was pounding. I am not Daniel Miller. I know, he said. And that one phrase shattered everything. I've known for 6 months. Daniel is in Costa Rica. Has been for a decade. He sends his mother a postcard every Christmas. We don't care about Daniel. I was completely lost. Then, what is this? The warrant? The PI? The DNA? Thorne leaned forward, and the mask of the calm businessman fell away. I saw the grieving, obsessed man beneath. This is about Chloe, he said, his voice low and intense. My sister-in-law. The one who vanished. Daniel's journals, which we found, said he helped her get to a bus station. He gave her cash. She was running away. From what, he didn't know. He paused, and his eyes drilled into mine. We found remains. Last month. On an old property Chloe used to visit. Just bones. The coroner can't get a clean profile. We need a familial match. A direct line. And then it hit me. All of it. You think I'm Chloe's son, I said. He nodded. You were adopted. We unsealed the files. Your birth mother's name, Chloe. We need your DNA to identify her. To give her a proper burial. The room was spinning. They didn't think I was an imposter. They thought I was family. So you terrorized me? You got a fake warrant? You tried to ruin my life? Why not just ask me? Ask you, he scoffed. And have you say no? Have you run? We've been looking for you, for Chloe's son, for 20 years. I wasn't going to lose you. The door opened again. This time, it was Sarah. She looked pale. She walked over and stood next to her father. I looked at her, my heart broken. And you? I whispered. You were in on this? Sarah wouldn't look at me. She just put an old, faded photograph on the table. It was a picture of Daniel Miller, from his college ID. He looked exactly like me. Not almost. Not similar. He could have been my twin. This is why, she said, her voice trembling. My father, he didn't find you. He found Daniel's picture. He thought Daniel had come back. He tracked down every person in the state who looked like him. He found 3. You were one of them. I stared at her. What are you saying? He sent me to that coffee shop, she cried. 10 years ago. It wasn't an accident. He told me to run into the man who looked like Daniel. He wanted me to get close to you. To find out if you were Daniel, or if you knew him. He was obsessed. My marriage. Our meeting. Our entire life. It was a lie. But then, she said, finally looking at me, tears streaming down her face. I fell in love with you. I told him he was wrong, that you were just, you. I told him to stop. But he never stops. So there it was. The entire truth. My father-in-law, Thorne, had orchestrated my life for a decade. He had used his own daughter as bait, all to solve a family tragedy. He hunted me down, not because I looked like a missing person, but because he thought I was the missing person. And when he learned I wasn't Daniel, he pivoted. He dug deeper, and found the adoption records. He discovered by pure, insane coincidence, that the man who looked identical to his family's missing friend was also the missing son of his other lost relative, Chloe. He couldn't believe his luck. And when he found those remains, he activated his plan. The warrant, the PI watching my parents' house, the disconnected phones, it was all leverage. All to force me to give him the DNA sample he so desperately needed. I looked at Sarah. She was a wreck. A victim of her father's obsession just as much as I was. Then I looked at Thorne. He wasn't a villain. Not really. He was a man drowning in grief, willing to burn the world down to find an answer. The test, I said, my voice flat. Get a doctor. Get the kit. I'll do it. Sarah gasped. Thorne's eyes widened, just for a second. But, I said, holding up a hand. On my terms. You call off your men. You get that warrant deleted. You send a car to find my parents. I want to see them, here, tonight. And you, I said, pointing at Thorne, you give Sarah the files. Everything. The PI reports. The adoption records. Everything you have on me, on Chloe. It's ours now. He stared at me for a long time. Then he nodded. He made the calls. My parents were fine. They were on a pre-planned vacation. Thorne had just bought the house next door to them to watch me, and had the "for sale" sign put on their lawn as a prop to spook me. The warrant was fabricated. It vanished. I did the test. We waited for 2 weeks. I didn't go home. Sarah and I stayed in a hotel. We just talked. For the first time, we really talked. She told me everything. How she had fought him, how she had begged him to leave us alone, how she lived in fear of this day. She chose me. The results came back. I was, in fact, Chloe's son. I was Thorne's nephew by marriage. The DNA was a perfect match to the faint traces they had from Chloe's childhood belongings. And the remains? They were not Chloe's. They were not even human. They were animal bones. All that, for nothing. Chloe is still out there. So, here we are. My life is built on a foundation I never knew existed. But the love is real. Sarah and I, we're stronger than ever. We've cut Thorne out. He found his relative, but he lost his daughter. He got his answer, and it cost him everything. We're moving. We're selling the house. We're going to a new city, where no one knows our faces, or our blood. I found my history. It's a tragedy. But my future, that's a story I'm going to write myself, with my wife. My real wife.